Often people hear the word hyperlapse and have no idea what it is. I mean, you load up your iPhone camera app and all you see is time-lapse mode. You're asking yourself this question, what is hyperlapse then? I've got no hyperlapse mode on my iPhone. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you 3 techniques on how you can get awesome looking hyperlapse videos like this. So let's get into it. Hyperlapse, a weird word, isn't it? Sounds like something should be in Street Fighter. Hyperlapse, hyperlapse, hyperlapse. What is going on? It's Anil. Before we get into the tutorial and before I show you these 3 awesome hyperlapse techniques, you're asking yourself this question. What's the difference between a time-lapse and a hyperlapse? Well, basically, they're the same thing. The only difference is that a time-lapse is static. You place your camera down, you hit record, and you just record a time-lapse of a specific scene for, over a period of time, like an hour or so. Now, a hyperlapse is basically the same, but there's movement. So, time-lapse, static, hyperlapse, movement. That's all you need to remember. Now, a hyperlapse can be you moving your phone, or it can be a gimbal that is set to automatically pan. It can even be you holding your phone in a vehicle. Just remember this, if there's movement, then it's a hyperlapse. Simple. Right, now that that's out the way, let's get into how you can create hyperlapse footage with your iPhone. These 3 techniques range from the most easiest and simplest all the way to more advanced techniques using hyperlapse apps and a gimbal. Now, the easiest, most simplest method is to use the time-lapse mode in your standard camera app on your iPhone. I spent the day at Blenheim Palace and this is awesome walk towards the front of the gate. You know what, I thought I'm gonna hyperlapse this shit. So, load up the camera app on your iPhone. Switch to time-lapse mode. What you want to do is find a focal point that you want to center your hyperlapse around. So I'm going to focus on the top of the palace here, and then I'm going to tap and hold so I can lock my focus and exposure. I'm also going to select the ultra-wide lens so that it's more immersive. Hit record and then start walking. Keep your arms steady, elbows tucked in as much as you can. Notice that I've got the grid lines activated. This is going to help me to keep my subject or my focal point dead in the middle. Now when you're walking, try and walk in a consistent pace. Not too fast, not too slow. Consistency is the key here. Now you want to record for at least a minute to get a good hyperlapse. Now you might notice a little bit of shake when you're doing it, but don't worry. Trust your iPhone's stabilization. Now I've got an iPhone 12 Pro Max and the stabilization is awesome. So just note here, if you're using a different iPhone, the better the stabilization, the better your hyperlapse is gonna be. Now as you get closer to your subject, you can just carry on in the position that you're in, or you can add a little bit of movement. To make this shot more interesting, I'm going to tilt up slightly as I get closer to the palace. Now check out the results. Now this is an awesome way to do a hyperlapse. Just you, your phone and the camera app. You can even add variations. Try pivoting around your subject. Take this example, again, locking your exposure and focus onto your subject. Hit record, start walking towards your subject as you were previously. Like I said before, steady pace, arms as steady as possible. Now when I get to the subject, notice how I'm pivoting around the subject. Make sure you have your subject in the center of the frame. That's why it's important to have the grid activated. Now check out the results. It's awesome, right? Now guys, before we move on to the second tip, if you like the content so far, please hit the like button and also consider subscribing if you want to see more. Now, moving on to the second method, we're going to take this a little bit more serious now, and we're going to step up our hyperlapse game. Now, to do this, I'm going to be using the DJI OM4 gimbal. I'm also going to pair this up with the DJI Mimo app, which has a hyperlapse mode, which is awesome. So like I said, the cool thing with this setup is you can do some advanced hyperlapsing. The OM4 paired with the Mimo app is going to allow you to select, lock and track your focal point when you're doing your hyperlapse. This is going to make your hyperlapse a lot more interesting. So let's start by loading up the Mimo app. All you need to do now is draw around the subject on the screen and you'll see that it's now starting to track that particular subject. Once that's locked in, just hit record and start walking. Now using the gimbal, it's a little bit more forgiving in terms of shake, but still try and keep your walking as smooth and consistent as possible to get the best result. You can create some awesome hyperlapses using this setup. Just check this video out. That's looking pretty good there. Now moving on to the third method, and this is my favorite. And the reason why is because I'm using a hyperlapse app. And the hyperlapse app that I'm using is called Moments. Now pairing up the Moments app with a gimbal. Now you don't have to use the OM4. You can use any gimbal with this method. Now this hyperlapse is good for long journeys. I mean longer than a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And the reason why I love using the Moments app is because they have effects like motion blur. The motion blur just makes the hyperlapse look freaking awesome, man. I'm telling you what, mate, motion blur is like jam on buttered toast. If you like jam, that is, you know, I love jam. Now you can still do this without a gimbal. No problems there. The Moments app is independent from any gimbal. But because what I'm showing you today is a long journey, using the gimbal is just so much more convenient. You don't have to hold the phone up for long periods of time. You just hold your gimbal and walk at a steady pace. You can even pick up the pace a little bit with the gimbal because it's a little bit more forgiving in terms of stabilization. So let's jump into the Moments app and get this going. So once you've loaded up the Moments app, and there are so many more advanced configuration options here. Right here, you can set the interval length. I like to push this to 0.4 seconds. Because I'm using a gimbal, I can move a little bit faster and capture more footage. Now at the bottom, you have the effects. And this is where the magic happens. Tap on the effects and you got motion blur. You can also set the duration. I'm gonna go 1 second because I think that looks the best. Then all you need to do is steady yourself, hit record and just walk. Now keep a good consistent pace, but like I said, you need to do a hyperlapse for more than 2, 3, 5 minutes. Do that journey, go from one place to the other. So once you've finished creating your hyperlapse with the Moments app, click on stop and then you can get results like this. There you have it, guys. 3 awesome methods of how you can create hyperlapse footage with your iPhone. We got easy and simple, we got gimbals, we got hyperlapse apps. There is a method that suits everybody. Again, guys, if you like the content, please hit the like button and also drop a comment below. I want to know about your hyperlapse. What are you using? Did you find any of these tips useful? Come on, let me know. Check out these other videos, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Hyperlapse. Yeah, maybe not. We're done. Cut it.